All right, get ready to learn about the Dirty Dino Gravel Grinder before we move on with Andy Compass. This is Brianne Nalder sharing all the details about this new race coming up this summer. Can you give us like the 1 minute what it's all about?
Absolutely. So, Dirty Dino Gravel Grinder, look, I can't even say it 3 times fast, is the newest, coolest gravel event in Utah. Not that I'm biased, but start and finish in Vernal. And it goes up and around. The full course is 106 miles, 10,000 feet of vert. It tops off at 11,000 feet. The coolest part, no matter if you do the 32-mile short course, the 56, I want to say, mile medium course.
The Dino Bite.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dino Mite is the big 106 miler.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Dino Bite is a good chunk that you can chew on and still very challenging. Or the Dino Light, which is an out and back. All of them, the last 16 miles, essentially descend what's called Rock Fork Canyon back into Vernal. So no matter which course you do, your last bit is this gorgeous, like, traverse line all the way down back into town that peers in over the Uintas on one side and down into Dinosaur Land on the other. The gravel is, I don't know if I'd go as far to say butter gravel because I don't want to overhype it up, but it is nice gravel. It's not chunky. Mm-hmm. There's a little concern for maybe some snow, but hey, that's part of the adventure.
Dang.
It's really high up, but we'll grade it and everything will be fine.
Okay. June 18th, by the way.
June 18th, it's Father's Day weekend. So our big push is make a family vacation out of it. There's camping everywhere. There's tons of places to stay. There's good restaurants. So it can be a family affair. We've got some great sponsors coming on board. Ventum is giving a bike away. So we'll have a raffle for all finishers for a bike. Envy, I believe, is doing some wheels. DNA is doing some really neat swag for us. List goes on and on, but I'm really confident it's going to be a great time. We're organized and ready to go. So now we just need you all to sign up.
Total cost?
So right now it's early bird all the way till May 1st. Okay. So there's a long time before it even goes up, but the full course is $115 right now. The short is $95 and the light is $75. So we tried to keep it so that it's not ridiculous, enough to kind of cover our costs and get swag and make sure that it happens. This will happen again and again. I have at least 3 years. So
nice.
All that's going into this is with the intention of it getting better, best. Those of you trying to plan your calendar still, or if you need that little push, if you're doing crusher, point to point, any of these later season high elevation rides, this is a great one in June where there's not a ton of events, but you can go and challenge yourself because not only is it 10,000 feet total of vert, you're going up to 11. So when you cross that 10,000 foot line, that's true altitude training.
Okay,
so
nice. Okay.
All the more reason to come and prep and get making some more red blood cells.
Put into the Mi Duole group chat on GroupMe, there was an even bigger discount code.
Yeah.
So I know that we might have some Undueles listening. Are you willing to share it?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is it?
To come down. This isn't about a big profit. This is about creating a grassroots style, super fun event. It'll be fully supported, tons of fun. However discount you can get, use it. Sign up.
Good. Nice. Will you remind me the discount code?
Yes.
Yep. Or I can put it in the show notes. How about that?
That's great.
Okay, I'll put it in the show notes.
I'm pretty sure it's Mi Duole Dino.
So do I. Don't quote us though. You better look in the notes of the podcast.
I've made a few codes.
Okay, cool. All right. Anything else?
If you have any personal questions, you can hit me up. There's an Instagram and a Facebook, and I'll be unveiling, probably the better word, some announcements in the next little bit to entice even more things like the bike giveaway and what the swag's going to be and all the cool stuff. So follow us on social media, and through there, you can, anything you send that's a private message or a DM is me directly. I'm running all of that. So if anyone out there that needs specific questions asked, we'll start posting stuff about equipment suggestions and all that stuff and what weather's going to be like and things. So website is gravel-dino.com.
Got it.
And go there and register.
Brianne doesn't do anything halfway. If you have ever participated in her events, I have done Ultimate Challenge where she's in charge. I pray for the day when you're back in charge of that activity.
Thank you. I think a lot of that comes from doing events for 20 years myself.
On your own, yeah.
We know what riders want
True.
We are riders ourselves. We're not just trying to capitalize on the dollars, because that all comes together when it's a good event. You want to come back, and that's the intention.
Sign up. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What's up, listeners? Stuart here. Welcome to another episode 43 of the Duole podcast. Grateful to have Andy Compass as our guest today. Kristen and I interview him. You get to know Andy, Coach Andy. We're grateful that he would share just a few of his insights into life, his insights into being a great racer, a great competitor, and an incredible man. I'm grateful for Andy's friendship and mentorship, and you'll hear our stories about how we met Andy and how he's joining up with me, Duole, to be a force to be reckoned with. Andy's the man, and I'm grateful for the time he spent with us. A few announcements we didn't get to at the outset, which is kit pickup, February 16th at 6 o'clock up at Hangar 15 on Wasatch Boulevard. We will have all your goodie bags ready with spandex, shirts, socks, hats. All that stuff will also be available to buy. So 6 to 7:30, join us. We're happy to see the team up there. Team Camp, March 17th through 20th, down in St. George. We've got some really fun routes, an incredible raffle. So go to the site, and Team Camp 2022 is on the website. So that's where all the information is about everything you want to know about camp. So big thanks to Andy. Grateful for him and Kristen. Thankful for the time they spent being on the podcast. And hope you enjoy. All right, bye. Welcome to the Duole podcast. Look how beautiful these people are with me. Andy Compass, welcome.
Thank you.
Kristen Anderson.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really grateful to have you. You were just on a special women's board of directors. I don't even know. What do we call that thing you were on? Panel? A women's panel?
Panel.
Talk about, will you just do that real quick? What was that?
It's the Utah Cycling, it's actually the Utah Cycling Events Association. Wanted to just hear more about women's cycling, and I think really try to inspire women to sort of put themselves out there and come to some of these events, and then also pick the brains of the women interested, like
ladies,
what they're looking for, like why do they not come, what are they looking for, kind of a thing. So yeah,
it was cool.
Brianne Nalder invited me. It was fun.
I tuned in.
You have to. You're obligated.
Andy, you tuned in. I had to make sure I knew what to talk about when you got home. So
that's why.
Andy, what were you going to say? Were you raising?
I did. I listened as well. I care about what they think, and I think they're just as good riders as we men. Air quotes.
I agree 100%. It was a good discussion. Thank you for being on it, representing the team. You did well, very well.
Thank you.
I like to start the podcast because it kind of lightens the mood here. Current training status, Andy. How is winter?
Yep. Oh, that's not a status.
Oh my God.
I enjoy the winter time. I'm a Zwiftie, and I feel like I get a lot of gains on Zwift. There's a lot of structure that I can follow riding Zwift, and by spending the time on Zwift, I feel like I come out in the spring a much stronger rider. So I'm in full swing, except for this week.
Yeah, decompressing. We've seen you on skis, Kristen. talk about that. What is that training status, please?
Training status is learning new things that this age is very hard.
Mhm.
I took up skate skiing. It's very difficult and makes me question lots of choices, but it's a nice break. I find that in the winter I struggle if I don't take a break from the bike.
Yeah.
So I kind of chose something new and different. And so yeah, that's kind of I'm just kind of starting to get my head into a place where I can commit to a few days a week on Zwift, but not with the team. I also learned that. So
sorry. Yeah, I know two incredible endurance athletes that skate ski, Bart Gillespie, Alex Grant. They are real good at that. So good job. That's cool.
Yeah.
Great.
It's been fun.
Okay. Kits arrived. I've never seen so much spandex in my life. So we're planning on February 16th at 6:00 at Hangar 15. So plan on that. We'll have all your goodies prepared. Andy, are you going to make the trek to I can ship it to you. I mean, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? I feel dumb having you.
I better start riding now. No, of course I'll be there. Of course I'll be there.
Okay. I'm going to introduce Andy just because maybe you don't know Andy, which is why I want to do this podcast. I admire him greatly. I had his wife write a short introduction, and I'm just going to read it. Maybe we can insert some giggle. It's good. It's good. Okay.
Okay.
Andy's always been involved in athletic sports his entire life. Just kidding. That's how it does start. As a boy, he excelled in soccer until he moved from Southern California to a small town in southern Utah where soccer didn't exist.
That's a pretty small town.
That is.
Where was that? Where'd you move?
It's called Kanab.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's been through it, but nobody knows it.
So you moved there. You lived there as a child.
I did. I moved there when I was 11.
Huh. Your father's work? What took you there?
He retired. He retired at the ripe age of 35.
Wow. Was he a fireman? What was he?
He bought and sold Japanese steel. He sold it to larger screw product companies like LA Screw Product and stuff. And he retired at 35. He was done making all the money he wanted to make.
Dang, man. And he went to Kanab. All right.
Yeah. And then the story, I got to really fill in really quickly, is lost his business, lost all his money. And I became the 11, 12-year-old son of a school teacher because we didn't have any money.
How about that? That was probably not easy.
No, super hard.
I can't wait to talk more about it. Okay. Then he picked up a baseball glove and became a passion for years, even earned him a college scholarship. How about that? You played baseball at college.
I did.
Please don't tell me. Don't say BYU.
Where?
Don't say.
I went to BYU. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
I did not go to BYU then, but I went to Dixie College.
Okay, Dixie. Very good.
I guess it's now being called Utah Tech or something, but
yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
We're not calling it that.
No.
As a young father, he developed degenerative disc disease in his back and was scheduled for surgery, but thought he'd try another route to heal his back and get into shape. He started running at the gym. You chose running. Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you more about that in a bit.
Okay. That led to running a marathon, which led to interest in triathlon. He wanted to drink water through his bars. And then ultimately the pinnacle of Ironman, of triathlon, Ironman. Very good. After years of running down, wore his knees out, requiring surgery, the doctor recommended he hang up his running shoes and invest in a good road bike. He took that advice seriously, poured his heart and soul into biking, and he's never looked back. That's an understatement. He is well known, highly skilled, not only in racing, but currently shares his knowledge and passion with both teens and adults, I agree, as a highly respected coach. Yes. His only regret with biking is that he didn't find it earlier in his life. I agree. Andy and I met, that was the end of introduction. Andy and I met on Zwift. I think, who invited you? AJ, the Brintons?
Yeah. I think it was probably the Brintons.
And that was 2019. We were doing that together. And then we really, we'll get into this in a little bit. Kristen and I connected with Andy during the Iron Cowboy adventure in 2020, summer of 2020. And I really enjoyed that experience. Hopefully, Andy will share more about that. That's it.
Well, I don't know whether my wife wrote that introduction.
What do you say?
That's my first question.
I messaged someone connected to you on Facebook and said, please write this. That
was very kind of her. First of all, super honored to be here or, be a part of Duole's podcast. As I think about the people that you've interviewed, Melissa Rollins, Connor O'Leary, Ali Tetrick, TJ, and even the Iron Cowboy. I have little stories or vignettes with each one of those. Interesting paths crossing with each of them. But I also don't want to leave out any of the Duole guys, right? Like the guys that I've gotten to know at Zwift, at the Wasatch All Road, at Lodija and stuff like that. And so I feel pretty vanilla amongst so many talented riders and people that you've had. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And maybe I've got this a little lower in our outline, but maybe there's a good spot. Andy wins Lodija this year. So 2021, he crosses first. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he comes up to me and he says, I'm doing this next year in a Duole kit.
That's correct.
Maybe tell that, like, I want to know for people that are, whatever, not in the team, if they're listening. I don't know if they are. But why? What is it? Tell me more about that decision. What's going on there?
You guys just seem to enjoy biking. You guys seem to enjoy each other. You just have something I want to be a part of. Like I've never been a part of a group of cyclists in my adventure. Like I've just been a solo guy. Show up at an event, race it, say hi to some people. I try to say hi to everyone, but I've never belonged to something like you guys have going. And it just seems about time. I feel like I've missed it.
I want you to know you're a high recruit. We're a powerful free agent. We're putting all the money on you.
Couple of ding dongs and a Twinkie and I'm there.
Half a bag of Cheetos.
Half a bag of Cheetos.
Nice. Well, maybe just talk about where you are in life, how you got there, a little history on Andy.
Yeah, you bet. Let's rewind about 13 years when Sarah my wife alluded to my trouble with degenerative back problems. I was about 39. I weighed 210. I played a lot of softball and baseball, so a lot of torque on my back. And I just was done. I crawled into the emergency room and got a back x-ray, and I got an appointment the very next day with a wonderful man named Dr. Reichman, who everybody knows in the Valley. And he looked at my film and he says, I'm scheduling you for surgery on Monday. And I said, not only no, but hell to the no. Like, I'm 39, I'm not having surgery. In fact, I'm going to be an Ironman.
Yes.
Stu, I literally had no idea. I had to go home and find out what an Ironman was. Like, I had no idea what I just said. But I was determined. And like Sarah said, I started walking about a half a mile at a time and got it up to about 2 miles. And then I was able to run and then run a little bit more, and running turned to, hey, maybe I could do this swimming thing. And how hard is swimming, right? Like, we've all done that growing up. Borrowed a bike, and that bike had platform pedals on it. And I wore my helmet on backwards as I came out of transition. Had no idea how to do that.
I love that.
There's a great picture that I have of me with my helmet on backwards, like, just to survive the swim. And my family's like, go. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
That's like Jerry of the Day material right there.
It was.
I love it.
I was Jerry of the Day. fast forward, ran a few marathons, did some half Ironmans, and then signed up for the big Magilla down in St. George. And I did all three. There was a few of us. I think there was like 40 something people that did 2010, 2011, and 2012. I did all three.
You did that one in the monsoon,
in the cold
with the water.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. That was pretty nasty.
There was a lot of DNFs that day.
There were a lot of people that swam to the shore and quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes. Kristen had some interesting, insightful comments about you, Andy, as we discussed a little earlier today. Kristen, I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Oh. Okay. So I met Andy on the Iron Cowboy ride, not day 100. What day was it? We were there.
88.
88.
That's right.
As Stu and I were talking about Andy, Stu kind of mentioned some of the qualities that he loved about Andy, and I agreed that he seems to have a knack of gathering people, and not just gathering people, but really seeing the people, has a sensitivity to kind of who's there and what the situation is and how he can be like most effective and helpful. As we rode, I watched him control the peloton in a way that was like, I don't know what the word would be. It was just
smart, wise, all of it.
Wise.
It was awesome. Yeah.
But wise and caring. I told Stu, like a shepherd, like a caring person who was being sensitive to everybody's levels and riding styles, but at the same time, like number one priority was safety and how was he going to sort of control this group. And I think that he does that wherever he goes. He just kind of has a knack of, finding the people and gathering them around him, and then, being a leader for them. So that's just kind of something I noticed. And that was just in the one day I was blessed to ride with him. So
it was a blessing.
You know what? I do remember, if I can interject, I do remember there was a spot in the race where we made a hard left-hand turn, and I got like kind of next to Kristen and said, "Hey, this is happening in the next 120 yards or 100 yards. Be careful, because this is a spot where people will make a mistake and they'll either go straight." It happened the other day. I watched a lady, crash into somebody and not make this left-hand turn. So I said something like, "Hey, follow my wheel, just leak out to the outside. And then if anybody's coming, they'll go on the inside of us, and then we can wrap in on this left-hand turn." And maybe it was a mother hen mothering her chickens, kind of shepherding. But as I finished saying it, I was like, here's this girl who can ride with the boys and is riding as hard as everybody else, and I'm telling her how to ride. I felt super embarrassed for a quick moment.
No way. Because you did the same thing when we crossed the railroad tracks. You were
Yes.
like, you
I can't help
guys,
you right now.
everyone crashes right here. So just be careful. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Iron Cowboy in a minute. I do want to know, Andy, at what point did you just say, I'm going to re-ride in 12,000 miles a year here? Is that a recent decision? I mean, when did you start going whole hog into cycling?
Yeah, let's see. I was a tri-dork for a while, got made fun of because I wore no socks. And I threw in with the Infinite Cycling dudes. I jumped in the Infinite Cycling team, and I just never really fit in. I wasn't fast enough to be riding with Ira and Nate and Mike Underhill, and I wasn't. The other guys, all the mid-packer guys, they had all their strategy planned out, so I didn't fit in the you hit it here, you pull the guy there, and you block there. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just riding a bike. And then I went to the state championships, I think was the 35 plus dudes. And I managed my first podium. I got second place to a little known rider in Utah named John Rose, who, if you know him and rode with him, he's a beast, both on the dirt and the road. And he beat me but I secured second place. I broke away with him, and he beat me at the line. I was completely hooked on riding. Like, I was like, why am I even thinking about running? It hurts. I'm out. Road loadage of that year. Didn't know what I was doing. I rode it. I did not race it. And I couldn't believe how fast people flew past us riders. Like, when a group would come by with a racer, like with a pace dude and a moto in front of them, and then the group came by, I'm like, what am I doing? Am I pedaling a bike, or what are they? They were so much faster than me. And it just kind of lit me up. Like, how could I do this and be faster? So, that was my initial, like, I'm way slow. I'm not fast enough. So I got to work on it. And then a friend at work asked me if I had a mountain bike, and I go, no, I'm not going to. Riding on the dirt sounds no fun to me. So he persuaded me to buy a mountain bike, and I decided that I would enter the smallest race I could possibly race in the mountain. And it happened to be a teeny race called Leadville up in Colorado.
So what I'm trying,
my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Like baptism by fire.
That's my MO, Stu. Like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing or how hard it is. And I end up in these situations where I'm like, I mean, this guy said, dude, everyone finishes under 9 hours. There's no finish line at 9:01. Everyone packs up and goes home at 9:01. So I'm like, all right, so how hard can this be? Like, I can train, I can do this. And I finished that day in 8:57, 8:58, and crossed the finish line. One of the last couple people to get a big buckle. And it was just my Duole. Like, I know how to suffer, and I figured it out. And that's where I really got the idea of, I think I could do this biking thing. I'm in.
I love that, dude. So great, excellent transition. If you want, you ready to move on? I want to hear about last year. You had so many incredible experiences. Let's first start. I'm assuming everyone knows the Iron Cowboy journey. Maybe talk about how you were connected and just what happened during that experience.
Yeah. James and we met a long time ago. And it was during the Tridork years. James was much faster, much better. Right. I was just grateful that this guy allowed me to be on the journey he was on and pretend that we were friends. And in 2011, he did the most half Ironmans, like 20 and 22 weeks. And I was always the what the heck guy, right? Like, he would say, I got this great idea. And I'd be like, well, why don't you do it? And, well, why don't you come do it with me? And I'm like, I can't, I got a family, I got a job, but I'll support you any way I can. In 2012, when he comes up with this 30 Ironmans, he's going to break the world record and do 30. I said, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. And I promised to do the last one with you. And so on number 30, if you watch his documentary on Netflix, or Amazon Prime, I'm sorry. It's Netflix, right?
Yeah.
I am in that video, most of that race. Like I ran every step of the marathon with him. We finished at the same time. There were a lot of guys that came down and did like the swim and then ejected, and then they did the bike and they ejected. And I was the only one that ran with him the entire race, and we finished. Anyway, James, if you listen to James, you might say, bull crap. This is a PG-13, right? Bull crap, right? You hear James talk and you're like, bull crap, this guy's not real. And it's everything he says is who he is. Watching him redefine hard, like it's true. Like, everything is true. Yeah, he's not the nicest guy, right? He doesn't get people. Like, wonderful compliment by Kristen to tell me that I made that difference in her in one day. James won't be that guy to people. That's just not who he is. But he came up with his Conquer one. He did the 50-50-50, and that was crazy, right? He offered me his wingman position. Said, "Hey, come be with me."
Wow.
He knew I would do it. And
On 50-50?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was working and I couldn't do it. I couldn't go. So then when the 100 came out, it was, "Hey, do you think I can do this?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "Really? No one believes I can do this." I said, "Your biggest problem," and this is my lifeblood, is operations. I'm a logistics guy. And I said, "Your logistics is going to be your biggest problem when you do this. Like, the problem is going to be everything that adds to is going to be problematic."
And so when you are now faced with the opportunity to go ride with him, there was this interesting part of the journey where I felt like you were like kind of in control of the bike group. Can you talk about, is that what happened? I mean, I don't want to tell me about, because I mean, you were there like every day in a cutoff white shirt and tie with slacks that you'd shot. Yeah. tell us, go ahead, Kristen.
I was just going to say, I told Stu today, and he's not the godfather, he's the bishop. He he's in control of the people. And that's how I felt. It was more than just you were showing up to show support because you loved cycling. It was very obvious that you showed up to support because you loved James. Yeah. And so everything else after that was, how do we make this logistically run smooth, efficient, safe, all of those things. And it was, you could tell it was not just, I like to ride a bike and I'm going to ride a bike with James. It was more than that.
Big time.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you saw or felt that. I mean, to me, people are my currency. I love people. I love getting to know people. I love to know their stories. I want to know their why. I want to be a part of their life. Like, I am sincere when I say I want to know your kids' names, and I'll tell you them later when we go riding something. I'll ask you how so-and-so is doing, or how's your wife? I won't forget it. Watching their stories come to life during the 100 was super fun for me. Seeing how people wanted to be involved for their various reasons. There were days that James was so broken, he would call me on the phone mid-ride, and I would jump out the door, drive to wherever he was, get on my bike and ride home with him, and then somehow figure out a way to go back and get my truck. And so I didn't ride every ride. There were some guys that literally rode 60 plus. I mean, there were a few guys that rode, more than 60 or 80. And I didn't ride that. I rode 27, I think, total. But then I rode another 15 to 20 when James needed some comfort. He needed some things. But what Kristen said teed up me really well. Changing James's route on the 100 was the biggest game changer for him. Like, he called me one night and he says, "I cannot ride all of this elevation for 100 miles. You live down in South County. Draw me up a map that keeps me away from going around Utah Lake." And you guys know, when you go around Utah Lake, it's a commitment because you can't back off, right? Once you start, you got to keep going. It's one direction.
Yeah.
And so when I rewrote his path or his route down into Payson and did the 3 loops down there,
right?
He called it the Andy Special, and it was the biggest win, I think, of helping him continue that day, because we took the elevation from 2,200 to just under 1,000 every day.
Nice. Dang, dude. What did you learn from that experience? I mean, there's a lot of lessons from some of the cyclists that were with him. Anything that you would share there that you really walked away with?
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, James, the bull crap moment where you say bull crap, he he literally lives by that. I didn't die last minute. I can go forward another. That didn't kill me, so I can go forward. Like, that's his ability to suffer. And he says that, and he lives by that. Like, his greatest accomplishment, his greatest superpower is the ability to suffer. And he, if he didn't die, if it didn't kill you a moment earlier, then he thinks he's going to make it to the next moment. So the thing that I learned the most from him is, or the experience or part, well, there's lots of things, but he could do it relying upon not only his knowledge that he would, but that he was going to suffer and he was going to win. He didn't ever listen to outside influences.
No way.
That was cool. But the other things I think I learned more that were non-cowboy stuff. Gosh, I met more Duole guys, right? Like you guys, I helped organize a day to get as many guys out.
That's right.
So I picked up the bat phone and called Stu and said, get me some of your best and throw them on the road down here. But don't bring any spares. Bring guys who know how to ride.
That was a fun day.
Yeah.
And I remember driving home with Kristen that day, and we were driving home. We like stopped at Jimmy John's, and I'm like, I cannot fathom like doing something else after this experience. Like, I was so fried. And I was like, that was one day. It was pretty wild. I can't believe even
one day, one event.
Well, I mean, I can't believe what you did. I mean, that is an incredible summer. With what you did in that summer, do you feel like it set you up for Wasatch All Road, Loaded? I mean, Kristen Kristen, you ask him your question. You're going to ask him about all these races you won.
Yeah, I just wondered if you set out with the plan where you calendared these events and you very specifically and methodically trained for each one because you said to yourself, I'm going to win. Or did you take the approach of like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to throw my hat in this ring and see how it pans out? I always find it interesting to see. I don't want to call us, because we're not necessarily novice riders, but we're obviously not professionals. You know, the approach that you take to multiple events and the mindset going in. Is it a winning mindset of like, oh no, this was part of my plan? Or is that just what happened?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I always downplay everything. So more of B, not A, I'm going to win everything. B of, well, I'll just throw my hat in and see what happens. And
hold on. Says the guy who has literally won the last like 8 Zwift events we've done.
I think everyone's just letting me win. Like,
whatever,
honestly.
No way. Sorry. Okay, continue.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So I yes, to your question. At the first of the year, I rode with the Cowboy. I felt like I was getting good base miles. I felt like the rides were doing really well at what I do, and that is the endurance, right? Like I'm an old guy. I'm an old guy, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I turned 53 on Saturday. Yes. And the biggest, most frustrating thing is I found this sport 14 years ago, and I would have loved to have found it earlier. Like I wish that I had much more time. So I'm just trying to ride as fast as I can to catch up, right? Like that's my mindset. So when I threw into True Grit, I literally had to have people tell me that I could do it. It was a stage race. It was a 3-day thing. And I thought, there is no way I can ride my bike that hard for 3 days and do it and expect to do well. But True Grit turned into being one of those moments where shut up or put up or shut up. And I had a pretty good day, a decent day. And when I finished, I was like, I can do hard things. Like I can ride my bike when there's 3 inches of snow on the ground, and I didn't quit. Dude. And that race fueled me for, hey, I can do X at the next race, right? And I got my hat handed to me by AJ at the Crusher. Like I wasn't even the same area code he was in. Like away he went, and I felt like Top Gun. I'm like, where'd he go? And I'm like, where'd who go?
Oh my God. So good.
That's awesome.
I love that. Dude, but if you listen to Connor at the last podcast, he said, I don't care who you are or what you're doing. If you're on the top, it's a special thing. And so for you to have 3 tops last year, I don't care what you say, Andy, I'm going to stick it to you. That is intense. That is awesome. Because you were down playing it at Lodija too. You're like, oh, well, I'm in this group and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, man. That was awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. It's super humbling. Sorry, Stu, go.
No, I was just going to say, is there any memories from any of those events that stand out, like a good war story?
Oh, yeah. I got good stories on all of them. You're talking to the story guy.
Let's go. I want a war story from Wasatch All Road.
Okay.
Story.
The All Road. The All Road was nasty. It so much hurt, so much fun. I just felt really hammered all day long. Like I know you guys have had Jesse Loper and Dean Walker on recently for Leadville, and Leadville is nasty. It hurts. But All Road is an all kinds of hurt. Like it was too high, too long, too hot. It was nasty. And it was just race pinned all day long. Mm-hmm. I knew. So this is, I'm going to try to figure out how I can say everybody, Duole's names in this podcast, like Dave Sharp, beef of a dude, right? Like he's 50 plus, 55 plus. And I saw him line up for the race, and he's on his mountain bike and I'm on my gravel bike. And I'm like, if he beats me on a mountain bike, I chose the wrong weapon. And we went up the hill, and we got to the top of the first climb, which is a nasty hour, chunky climb, deep sand and gravel in places. Couple of pros busted rims near me, and we got to the first aid station, and on the turnaround, I saw TJ, and I think there was some winner of All Road that just came out of nowhere, like out of retirement. Like 4 years ago, he was like a cyclocross champion, but he was beefing it on the front. He and Ryan Standish and TJ and a couple other guys. And then there was a break, and then there was a couple other. And I was starting to count them. It was like an out and back. And I was like in 18th place overall. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm a back half guy. Like I'm a back half race guy. The front of the race, I got to stay close. Mm-hmm. The back of the race is when the coal engine starts working for me. Like I feel like nutrition lines up. I feel like my legs line up. I feel like my ability to suffer lines up. And then it's like game on. Like if not to give away any secret advantages to any Duoles, but if it's an 8-hour race and I'm with you at 4 hours, I like my chances, right? Mm-hmm. Like at that point, the last 4, I'm a fourth quarter guy.
I'm attacking early now.
Yes, you should.
Andy, awesome. Babe, any other questions to Andy about his races last year?
Yeah. Do you wear your medals to bed?
Yes.
No, I do
Where do you
not.
wear them? Do you wear them around the house? Do you cook in them? Like, what do you like to do when you have that many medals?
It's important, Andy. It's important.
No, I think they're in a box.
Where do you put them?
Sarah, I put them, honestly, I put them on the bed for about a week, and Sarah throws them in the box quickly. Like, what's this for? I'm like, just reminding me, babe, I had a good day.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, you always have a good day.
Andy, as we kind of come in for ending here,
wait. I have one question.
Oh, yeah, great. Let's go. Yeah.
I want to know what you're coaching.
Oh, coaching.
Yeah. I don't know this. Are you
Coach
coaching
Andy.
mountain bike? Coach Andy, what are you coaching? I want to know a little bit about your coaching.
Yeah, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I just rode up to the local Lone Peak High School and asked them if they needed some help with their riders, and offered my assistance. And The guy looked at me and said, "Do you have a kid on the team?" And I said, "No, but I got a white van with no windows and stuff down over there." No, I just felt like maybe giving back a little bit was the way that I could find some enjoyment. And so I started coaching some mountain bike kids about 3 years ago, and I grabbed 2 or 3 kids, wrote their training plans, watched them, rode with them, rode behind them and in front of them, and showed them, how I would ride the bike and how they're riding it well and where they're not and where they could, trust the bike a little bit better. And that turned into a little 3 turned to 6, turned to 9, turned to 15. And I have kids all over the state now who, for various high schools, will call and say, "Hey, I need you to write me a training plan." And hashtag Coach Andy Says was born. Everything
That's
that
awesome.
I tell them, I just kind of say, "Hey, do it this way."
Coach Andy.
That's awesome.
What's the high school, Andy? Which one is it?
Lone Peak.
Lone Peak. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Awesome.
Sorry. Great. Kristen's
I love
a coach.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Great.
do. I started a couple years ago at the Olympus with my daughter, and I help with the grit program, trying to get more girls on bikes, and that is definitely a challenge, but it's very rewarding. If you can get one kid that finds an outlet that makes them feel like better about themselves, and they have a place to go where they feel like they belong, then it's worth it for one kid. So yeah, that's awesome.
I'll tell you 2 things. One, the way I connect best to the athletes, they're the girls. The girls are much easier to connect than the boys. They want to be riding their bike. The boys sometimes are like, either parents are forcing or whatnot, but the girls, they want to ride their bikes. And then the other thing I would say about coaching that I love is when a kid's parents send me an email or a text or something saying that I've made a difference in their kid's life, well, that's all the juice I needed, right? Like that's money right there.
It is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Andy, you've experienced a lot of life in general. I'm not calling you old in any way, but I feel like you're very wise. You always have like really neat, fun thing. I love to listen to you. I'm going to ask for like top 3 Andy's. If you're speaking to a guy on a ride and you're like, "Hey man, here's some advice for you." Where does it start?
Advice on the bike or advice in life? What do you want?
I mean, it could be both. Let's start with life. Let's just do life. Yeah. Andy's advice.
Coach Andy Says.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that I would say is just find your why. Find why you like to ride. Find why you like that climb. Find what it is that makes you want to get on the bike the next day. Like I think that too many times we spend an inordinate amount of time looking at each other's PRs and I can't climb Emmy faster than Stu, and everyone knows you have the number one, and everyone's gunning for you.
Stop it.
Everyone's
They're coming for you.
Stop.
I think we compare ourselves too often to other people and think we should be in a different part of our life or the same stage others are. Like I've got a good friend who always complains to me about how much time I find to ride a bike. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I don't have kids that I can take skiing. Should I complain to you about 3 or 4 toddlers running around on a ski slope? Like my kids are all grown up now. And so I'm in a different stage. I just would tell people to be happy where they are and not ask, "I'll be happy when," right? Like be happy where you are.
Nice. Do you want to discuss your why real quick?
My why? I think if you listen to this podcast, I think you figured it out. I found this sport too late. I don't ever know what I'm doing, so I throw my hat into anything, and just try to learn as I go. Like I'm not afraid to try something new. I really, at the first part of this, being a part of you guys and me Duole, I mean, I'm not saying it to blow smoke. It's like, I want to belong to something greater than me. Like I want to find and leave people. I want to find people great or good and leave them great. Right. Like that's my why, is I just want to help people. And if it's just me telling jokes and stories on a bike, if you ride with me, you'll probably at the end go, why didn't you shut up? But I like spending time on the bike, and I love telling stories, and I love being with people. That's my true pleasure.
Quoting movies.
And somehow
you fit right in somehow.
And somehow this year I ended up on the top of the podium a couple of times by accident, Stu.
Yeah.
I wasn't even riding Lodija to win. I was riding to support a friend. And after about 3 hours, I looked over at him and I said, what do you want to do? And he goes, I want you to go win. And I'm like, all right. Okay. So see what happens. Peace.
Yeah.
Great day.
Okay. Good day.
What else, Andy? What makes a great cyclist? What do you think? Like, any advice there? Like, young guys
give away all my tricks.
I know. What about like a young guy who's like, I need to win. Like, what do you say to that guy?
Here's your medal. Shut up. Get out of here.
No one cares.
No one cares. I honestly think the guys that make up the best part of the cycling community are not the guys that are PR guys. Like, I got to PR this, right? Like, I don't enjoy riding with someone who has to PR every single time you go out for a ride. Shoot me. Like, that's not my guy. My guy is my favorite rider or riding companion would be someone who tells me what's going on at work or at school or family, where we can bond and talk. And we're in this crazy journey called life, and we're in different spots. And if I listen to you and you listen to me, we're gonna be better for that, better humans, both of us. And that camaraderie and that togetherness, or we're part of something, means a lot more than hitting a PR. Now, if someone twitches and away we go, I don't mind that either, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to do the twitching.
Okay. Anything else, Kristen?
No, I just liked that a lot.
Andy, go ahead. Sorry, babe.
I was just going to say, I just feel like that's the culture I think that we aim to create. Is this is more than a bike. It's more than your PRs and your Stravas and your miles. And if we can provide that space, I think we're doing a good job, and we're creating something in the cycling community. I think that the racing and the chasing will always be there because it's a sport and it's competitive, but to come back from the race and have people who want to listen to your race breakdown, and Stu wants to hear every pedal stroke and what you ate and who you talk to. I mean, I think that's hopefully the kind of culture that we're creating, is that space for people to ride next to each other. And if you're not with someone you like, what's the point of all the time spent doing it? So anyway, I'm grateful to have you.
If you're a jerk, it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Right.
Well, we could talk about chamois butter or nutrition or things like that, right? Like,
I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
Andy, what's in store? 2022. I have two questions. What are your goals? What are you riding on? I saw some pictures. We got to know what that thing is. Oh boy.
Well, since I ride my bike so much. Yeah, since I ride my bike so much. Funny story there, right? I'm riding at the end of the year in the Tour de St. George, the fall one, and I'm on my bike.
We were there.
I know. I saw Kristen, but I didn't see you.
Huh.
You guys shot off like a cannon.
I was going for PR. I was going for PR.
Yeah, and I was riding back I was riding with my brother. But some dude rides up and he goes, "Hey, where'd you get that bike?" And I wasn't even thinking. I was like, I paid a guy some money for it, and they gave me the bike. And later I thought, what a dick thing to say. Oops, sorry.
Censored.
Censor that. But yeah, I spend a lot of time on the bike, and I've got a little crazy part of me that's like, hey, I don't wear things out. I treat them I baby them. And so when the NV bike rolled around, I was super interested and I socked away my pennies, and I just happened to sell my bike at the right time during COVID. And so I got extra money there. And so I'm riding an NV bike this year. Like I actually picked it up the week before Lodaja.
Yeah.
It was my second ride on it.
Oh, that was a nasty day. That was a nasty
second ride on it.
Ooh. It's beautiful. That paint, unreal. So awesome.
I'm super. Yeah.
All right. So what are you doing this year? Anything, any calendars?
Oh,
what do you got?
I promised a good friend of mine that I was going to ride me Duole colors at Lodaja. So I'm throwing down for that. I've signed up for
we're doing Crusher. We're doing Crusher.
Sign up for Crusher.
Against your will.
Grit. Yeah. Crusher just somehow owns me. Like that race just gets me. Somehow. I got to figure it out. AJ, stop. The only chance I have is if AJ doesn't show up.
That's not going to happen.
I got to get
That's what I was going to say, the Jordans. Huh?
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but so quickly, if AJ's still listening or he can be pointed to this, the only reason I won the Wasatch All Road was because of smoke the day before. So he pulled the ripcord and didn't come. And I'm like,
yes.
I don't think I said yes.
Oh,
it was just he didn't show up. So it's like one of those like, hey, AJ's not here. I guess there's a race going on. So I think I'm going to do the Dirty Dynamite with Kristen.
Very cool.
Yep. Trying to talk you into it, Stu.
Yeah, I'm getting my bikes being built right now at Ventum. Should be ready for team camp. So if she's going to Vernal, I'm not going to miss that dinosaur museum. I'm going. I love that. Love me some dinos, dino bones.
There we go.
Little peewees.
Gonna be my freaking bones out on that race course.
I need to know. This is a call out to the guys that are still listening and girls. What races you guys do on the road? Do you want somebody to come out and help you in a race on the road? Like, is there a race that anybody wants to do that just needs a domestique or somebody to screw things up for everybody else?
Dude, I love that. I love that East Canyon race. We should do that. That's fun. Unless it's snowing. I won't do that. That's dumb.
Ooh.
The Antelope Island thing's always tempting. And then
it's on Friday this year. How do you get off work?
Right. That's right. It is.
I always want to do the Bear Lake. The
stage race. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I heard there's less. I've heard there's less bugs on Friday out at Great Salt Lake.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Take Friday off.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Anything else? Are we doing point to point? You don't do that.
No, I have done point to point.
Okay. Kristen's doing it.
My problem this year is that every race lines up with my kiddos' races at Lone Peak. So I either can't do all road or Lodaja. So I think I had to choose between one of those, or I just bag the kids and not show up. Like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And then point to point's right there. They're socked all together, right? Like boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Yeah, the Dirty Dino is in June, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I got this awesome invite to camp in March that I'm super jacked for.
Yeah, you're gonna win camp. You're gonna win. You're gonna be the winner.
I'm not going to win.
How do you win camp?
Yeah, I was gonna say
you PR everything. You just get PRs. You win it. You win camp.
That's
no thanks.
You don't crash.
Yeah, you don't crash, and you meet new people. Yeah, Andy, I remember your sad Strava post from last year when you wished you were at Duole camp.
I felt so bad.
It's gonna be
that was my Strava was FOMO. Why am I not in the South with the Duelles?
Very cool.
Because Andy, you were smarter to not ride to Mesquite.
What? That was awesome.
I was like the road to hell, paved with good intentions. That's what that ride was.
That was rude. That was fun.
It was. But we're probably doing it again. I don't even know.
Nope,
no, Stu said it one and done. I'm out.
I'll
I'm
never
riding a Mesquite again.
It was tough.
No way. All right, Andy, let's wrap up. you got to know how grateful I am for you that you're on this team. You're the kind of dude that is going to just lift everyone around you, which is, I just love that. So I'm thankful for you. Grateful to be riding together.
Thankful to be a part.
Kristen, final parting words?
I feel
Said
the
it
same
all.
way. It's a huge acquisition for the Duole team to have a guy like Andy Compass repping the colors.
If we
So
just didn't
couldn't
have
be
that,
happier.
as long as we didn't have that Suncrest climb in between us, I really feel like
Yeah.
we're
Just
gonna
meet
have
at
to
the
work on
top.
I'll figure that out. I'll get up early, drive to the temple, and then just ride up Wasatch till I meet you guys.
Okay, great. Very good.
Awesome.
All right, faithful listeners. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you.